Canelo, I was born ready. Alvarez backlight training for to be announced opponent. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Before I begin, make sure you guys subscribe and like the video for the latest in fighting and boxing, all that good stuff. And also follow me on social media. Now, Canelo Alvarez last fight, he pretty much dominated as to be expected against Liam Smith. He did injure his thumb. I believe it's his right thumb in that particular fight. Too many punches and he kept hitting Liam Smith upside the damn head too hard. So he injured his hand in that particular fight. He's been MIA since. And he's back light training. As you guys seen in the clip that I just posted. He just posted that. And there's a rumor that he may fight Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. A lot of people are up in arms. Some people like the fight. Me personally, I told you guys, I don't have a problem with the fight. It's a contradiction, if you will. Like, why didn't you want to fight 160, fight Golovkin right off the bat, but you'll fight Chavez Jr. 5 pounds heavier at 165? There's really no solid argument for that other than preparation, and he wants to, you know what I mean? It's just kind of weird. There's nothing you could say. You can say like, oh, this and that. He wants to acclimate, but if that's the case, then why don't you fight like a David Lemieux at 160, right? Why would you go 5 pounds north of the regular middleweight limit to fight Chavez Jr.? Because we all know Chavez Jr. ain't making 160 at this point of his career. So it's like the only way a mega fight with Chavez and Canelo can even happen, it has to be a catch weight, probably 165. And some people doubt if Chavez can even make 165. That might even be a stretch, or that might even deplete him. We don't really know. But it's a big fight for boxing. For that reason, I don't mind seeing it. I think it's a difficult fight, a lot more difficult. A lot of people, I could tell with their predictions, they don't really think. They just say based on like emotion and like certain like stigmas about fighters, like, oh, easy work for Canelo. I have to see that to believe it. I think Canelo is a quality fighter, but I don't really see him moving up 11 pounds fighting a guy with a hell of a chin who can be undisciplined, and we all know the good and the bad with Chavez Jr. I just don't see him moving up 11 pounds and easily, like first round, just stopping Chavez, or like some people are making it out to be in the comment section. But hey, Cinco de Mayo, if the fight goes down, then I would love to see it. And I've been surprised in boxing before. Me personally, just based on what I've seen from both fighters, I don't see that. A lot of people make some of the dumbest comparisons that I've ever heard when it comes to boxing, because it's apples and D batteries. It's not even the same genre of subjects. People will say, oh, but Sergio Martinez was beating Chavez Jr.'s ass. But you got to look at the dynamic. Sergio Martinez was 40 years old when he fought Chavez Jr., or 39. He was close to 40. And he's a southpaw who's slick, who fights with his hands at his waist, fast hands. Canelo has fast hands, but other than that, completely different. Sergio Martinez is a former soccer player who has good legs and is light on his feet. Canelo has slow feet and he's not light on his feet. You never really see Canelo moving like a Edeslandi Lara or Sergio Martinez or Mayweather. You never see him that fleet on his feet. And that's because he has slow feet. That's just not his get-up. That's not his style. He's a counter-puncher, and he has to kind of walk to you and get in position. Sergio Martinez didn't fight like that. Plus, he had a ton of experience at age 39, 40, or whatever age he was when he fought Chavez Jr. He had been in there, stoppage, lost to Antonio Margarito. He had fought Paul Williams twice, the second time a brutal knockout. He had fought people at middleweight. Darren Barker, Matthew Macklin, stopped those guys, right? Kelly Pavlik, he schooled him. So Martinez, Kermit Cintron, when he was in his prime, Martinez had a lot of experience, and Canelo has a good resume, good experience, but just totally different styles. The way they scrap, completely different. I've never seen Canelo put his hands at his waist and then just be like feinting and like, you know what I mean, like trying to bait the fighter in, like I've seen Sergio Martinez do. And again, Canelo, he's not a southpaw like Sergio Martinez. And the biggest thing is the feet. Canelo is better if you bring the fight to him, which Chavez Jr. would have to do, because Chavez Jr., another person who's not like really light on his feet like that. So it'll be an interesting scrap. But what happens if Chavez Jr. is not hurt dramatically by Canelo, you know what I mean, in the later rounds? That's what's interesting, because we seen Chavez Jr. getting whooped for 11 rounds and almost stopped Martinez in the 12th round. So he could take a beating, he could take a punch, and he's never been stopped to the head. And he kind of quit, had a stoppage against Andres Fanfara, but that was at light heavyweight, basically. That was over 171 pounds. So it's different because Canelo would be the guy, kind of like Kell Brook versus Triple G. He's the guy moving up over 10 pounds, double-digit pounds. You know what I mean? Kell Brook moved up 13 pounds to fight Golovkin, held his own in spots. And I'm not comparing Chavez Jr. to Golovkin. I'm just saying to move up in general is no easy task. And we know Canelo's skilled. He'll probably be the favorite, but I just really don't see it being this one-sided ass whooping where Canelo, I think Canelo might even have to dig down deep to keep this guy off him, because I don't think Chavez Jr. is going to go out like Angulo. Like, I don't see it being that type of fight. Like some people are making it out to be, like when Canelo just like threw everything but the kitchen sink at Angulo and he just ate it and took it. I really don't see that, especially that was 2 Mexicans in that particular fight, and this is 2, but this is a little bit different because Canelo and Chavez Jr., their brothers have fought, and it's a little bit of like history there with the Alvarez family and then the Chavez family. You know what I mean? Just who would win out of the brothers. Now this is a chance for redemption, and it's a little bit bigger of a fight. Angulo was coming off of a loss also to Erislandy Lara, so, and Canelo was too. So just different circumstances altogether, and we'll see other options for Canelo. Maybe David Lemieux. David Lemieux called him. I don't really see Golden Boy making that, just because that's a dangerous fight for Canelo. And aside from that, there's 2 Golden Boy fighters, so I think they would rather make maybe even a David Lemieux versus Curtis Stevens, which is a good fight. And instead of like putting the 2 Golden Boy fighters with somewhat of a name or a big name against each other, because one has to take the L, and that wouldn't be good for either fighter on Golden Boy. So they would probably put Golden Boy fighter David Lemieux in with like maybe even a Curtis Stevens with main event, because if Lemieux beats Curtis Stevens, then that's credit to Golden Boy. But if Golden Boy puts a Golden Boy fighter in Canelo versus David Lemieux, then a Golden Boy fighter is taking the L. And right now, De La Hoya, he signed some new talent and stuff, but in terms of big name stars, there's not that many that have already been established pay-per-view draws or been on pay-per-view. David Lemieux and Canelo have both been on pay-per-view at this point, and they've had like headlinings on HBO and Showtime, things like that. So I don't really see that happening. Billy Joe Saunders is a potential, but he just didn't look good when he fought that Wolverine Akov guy. He didn't impress. He even admitted after the fight he didn't look good in that particular fight. So I don't know if the desire is going to be there, but you never know. Liam Smith, he simply had a belt, and that was enough for Golden Boy to make that fight. And he was an unproven champion. Billy Joe Saunders is more proven than the Liam Smith, because he has Chris Eubank and like Andy Lee on his resume, and he has a belt. So even though he had a shitty performance, a deal may be able to be reached based on that. But Canelo, he looked good to me in that quick training session. Canelo seems to be getting, from what I've seen, he seems to be getting better since the Mayweather loss. He was young, but that's no excuse. I hate when people throw that out there, because you got to keep in mind, Canelo, he was the one that called Mayweather out for probably like 2+ years, 2 years at least. And he said he was ready then. And he was bigger, 13 years younger than Mayweather. So he got what he asked for. And he got the Mayweather fight eventually in 2013, and it didn't go his way. So there's no excuses about, because you could say he was too young, but then you could also say Mayweather was too old. He was 13 years older. So that's a complete deficit. We just seen a recent example of when an old fighter, an older guy who's like double digits older, just gets knocked out of the fucking ring. That was Bernard Hopkins. The same thing could have happened. Canelo was young, strong, is young, strong. He was a champion. He was undefeated. He had just beaten Austin Trout. So the same exact thing could have happened. Canelo could have knocked Mayweather through the damn ring, but it was the skill and defense and the style of the two fighters that made for that particular fight, where Canelo ended up getting schooled. And that's just what it is. Bernard Hopkins, he was coming off of a loss. Floyd Mayweather he never had a loss. So different circumstances, but I mean, you got to respect boxing, and to beat somebody who's significantly younger is not necessarily easy, especially if they're good fighters. Because to me, Canelo at age 23, technically, he had, like, in terms of technical ability, I think he's better than Joe Smith Jr. is at light heavyweight. That's me personally. I've seen more flaws in Joe Smith Jr. than I did with Canelo. Like, you know what I mean? Canelo still beat a Hall of Famer like Shane Mosley, knocked out Baldomir. He guys like Josito Lopez, that was a mismatch, and he proved it was a mismatch in those fights. So, and he beat Austin Trout, knocked him down. So I seen a high level of skill in Canelo early, beating Cotto's brother and stuff like that. And we still see this level of skill with Canelo. But again, it is not easy fighting somebody who's significantly younger. But back to Canelo, I don't know what his team will choose. It's going to be very, very interesting as far as I'm concerned to see who they decide to scrap with next. Canelo had a bad 2016 as far as I'm concerned. Not in the sense of he took a loss or anything like that, but he took a loss in terms of the public favor because he vacated his belt, which is almost a no-no in the sport of boxing. And he vacated it and basically handed it on a silver platter. Golovkin asked for the belt. And no, give me my belts, hashtag give me belt. You know what I mean? And he really surrendered the belt and said, hey, I'm vacating. I already told the WBC. Wasn't a good look. And then on top of that, you pulled up welterweight who was considered chinny, who didn't really prove or establish himself as the best welterweight. You know what I mean? Even at that time, Amir Khan's best wins were Luis Collazo and Devin Alexander, and then he was coming off a year layoff with a rocky performance versus Chris Algieri, and Algieri was coming off of a stoppage loss. First fight at the full 147. Pacquiao in his previous fight knocked him down 6 times and dominated him, and Amir Khan struggled with him, and that's who, off of that performance, Canelo chooses to fight. And there's no rehydration clause. Amir Khan's moving up like 8 pounds. It just wasn't a good look. And then on top of that, you were losing the first half of the fight, and then your body shot slowed Khan down or whatever happened. You got his timing, and then it was night from that point. And then you dropped the belt, which was bad, and then you fight Liam Smith. So 2016, as far as I'm concerned, was not a good year for Canelo. It just, people turned on him, and rightfully so. Some of the decisions his handlers made or him and his team made, they just weren't good for his career. They weren't advantageous. They didn't make Canelo look like the pound for pound #1 person that he is in the absence of Floyd Mayweather. It didn't make him, those weren't superstar moves. Tell me the last time Floyd Mayweather fought someone coming off of a win like Amir Khan. Like Amir Khan was coming off a Chris Algieri rocky performance where he was hurt in the first round, and Algieri was coming off of a 6 knockdown loss to Pacquiao. And before that, a tough fight with Ruslan Provodnikov that he barely won by split decision. And he was moving up in weight. You know what I mean? Floyd Mayweather, he fought Victor Ortiz moving up in weight, but Victor Ortiz is huge, big puncher, southpaw, and he was coming off the Berto win, which was a fight of the year. You know what I'm saying? So what is more dangerous? So again, 2016 wasn't a big year for Canelo. He has the opportunity as the #1 boxing draw in the absence of Mayweather to make it right in 2017. Fight Golovkin, fight a big money fight like Chavez Jr., and they're talking about maybe even fighting Cotto. So I'm anxious to see what his team will decide to do. You let me know what's next. Do you think it'll be a Chavez Jr. 165? Are you okay with that fight? Do you think he's going to fight Billy Joe Saunders? Or is it going to be a wild card like a Willie Monroe or somebody like that? You let me know what's next for Canelo. Drop it in the comment section. Make sure you share the video, like the video as always. Hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video, it's Ego signing off.